Session. Today is Tuesday, September 6th. As a reminder, this is a public meeting and is being recorded. For those of you calling in, please ensure that you have muted your phone line by pressing *6. Thank you. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Boyce.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy September. As we mentioned last week, September is Hunger Action Month. Unfortunately, almost 400,000 of our neighbors leaned on the Mid-Ohio Food Collective for food assistance last year. Even more distressing, the leadership there tells us that the demand they're seeing is unprecedented and that their resources are stretched increasingly thin. We understand that the Food Collective has asked the state of Ohio to allocate some American Rescue Plan funding for emergency food purchases, but that it has not yet received a reply. So we will continue to highlight Hunger Action Month and the increased need throughout this month of September. September is also National Neonatal Intensive Care Awareness Month. Neonatal intensive care units, or NICUs, are where premature or sick babies will be cared for in the first days and sometimes weeks of their young lives. They're staffed by neonatologists and devoted nurses who give these sick kiddos the best possible chance at life. We must also focus on measures that could lower the chances of NICU visits. For example, housing instability and homelessness increases the likelihood of preterm birth, infant mortality, and acute health conditions. Through investments in housing, nutrition, and environmental conditions, our moms and babies will have safer and healthier experiences and outcomes. Franklin County has supported maternal and infant health, including investing in Franklin County Public Health Home Visiting Program, Restoring Our Own Through Transformation, known as ROOT, funding for perinatal doula support services, and Celebrate One programs and initiatives, including the Birth Equity Center. In Franklin County, we're lucky to have several of the best NICUs around, though it is hopefully a resource most families won't need. We encourage pregnant people to get connected with prenatal care, prenatal support groups, learn about supporting a healthy pregnancy, and so much more. And in cases where the NICU is needed, we're glad to have that resource available, and we celebrate the dedicated doctors, nurses, and technicians who staff them. If I could get approval of the minutes for the August 25th, 2022 briefing session and the August 31st, 2022 administrative briefing session.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes,
Thank you. The minutes have been approved.
thank you. First, we have domestic relations.
Resolution number 63522. Resolution authorizing a contract with Summit Food Service LLC to provide, manage, and operate a food service program for the Franklin County Juvenile Intervention Center in the amount of $620,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Barb Reeves, Deputy Director. This resolution is a one-year contract with Summit Food Services to provide food service for the Juvenile Intervention Center with the option to extend for one-year periods. These services were competitively bid through the purchasing department. 12 companies received the bid notification and 2 proposals were received. I would like to thank Jesse Armstrong in the prosecutor's office and Brad Kemlett in the purchasing department for all their assistance with this contract. Pending any questions, the court requests the approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 635-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes,
Resolution number 63522 has been adopted.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Next, we have Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 63622. Resolution authorizing the county administrator to enter into rental agreements for the benefit of the county auditor's office to secure space to host informal reviews of property valuations throughout Franklin County in the amount of $50,000.
Morning, Commissioner Crowley, Commissioner Boyce, and Commissioner O'Grady. As you're familiar, I am Michael Cinziano. I have the honor of serving as the Franklin County Auditor. Before I talk about the resolution, I do want to introduce Nate Shipman. Make sure Mr. Shipman is on your radar. He serves as the Auditor's Office Special Projects Coordinator, which is a fancy way of saying he's in charge of leading the Auditor's Office planning for the statutory function of the 2023 mass reappraisal. that we are going to be conducting of all properties throughout Franklin County, which serves as the basis for the resolution. The resolution desires and looks to streamline the process of securing locations to host members of the public, so property owners throughout Franklin County for our property value informal review process. As the auditor's office completes the 2023 mass reappraisal, this will ensure that we have physical locations, so the opportunity for in-person meetings throughout the community where property owners and taxpayers can come to resolve any questions or feedback they would provide us as we work to set their new final property values. As you may or may not be aware, during the informal review process, property owners are able to schedule time to meet face-to-face with one of the office's appraisers or contracted appraisers to discuss and contest, hopefully it is not a contest though, the tentative property value assigned during the mass reappraisal process. This is all done prior to then final values being established and ultimately released. We do believe the best way to establish appropriate values is with the engagement of property owners and to ensure that businesses and residents throughout Franklin County are able and are aware of the opportunity they have to make sure that the information the office is using to establish values are as accurate as possible. For reference, during the 22 triennial review, the auditor's office held over 8,000 parcel reviews, which included 4,000 individual taxpayers in the informal process. And although the pandemic created quite the pivot in terms of our informal review process, the office continues to be dedicated to all we can to educate property owners about this important process and the key role they play in us establishing our value. So for the 2023, we are nonetheless planning for over 20,000 individual sessions, again, with a virtual and in-person opportunity to make sure we have the most successful mass reappraisal process in the state. The resolution before you will streamline the process of getting signatures from the county administrator on certain rental agreements where the venues will provide additional services for in-person opportunities for the mass tentative value challenge process. And so the office will work with Administrator Wilson and his team to come up with a mutually beneficial process, but appreciate your support in making sure we're able to have in-person locations spread throughout the county. Pending any questions, we ask for your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 636-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes, I was looking at something on there.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 63622 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Auditor. Have a great day. Next up, we have the coroner.
Resolution number 63722. Resolution authorizing an agreement with Forensic Medical Management Services, PLC, a forensic services consulting firm, for locum physician services for the Franklin County Forensic Science Center in the amount of $500,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Alvarez-Wright, representing the coroner, Dr. Annie Ortiz. So this is a agreement with Forensic Medical Management Services for forensic consulting company for the assignment of locum physicians and specialty training, including in performing autopsies, the pathologist. These services are necessary due to the deficit in forensic pathologists in the coroner's office, and the specialization is required to be conducted for their work. This agreement will not exceed the amount of $500,000 and is an agreement for 1 year. Pending any questions, we ask for your approval.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 637-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 63722 has been adopted.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Next, Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 63822. Resolution authorizing the donation of real property to the state of Ohio and the city of Columbus for the improvement of the intersection of Morse Road, County Road number 17, and Westerville Road, State Route 3, Franklin County, Ohio, and for the construction and maintenance of stormwater best management practices.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nick Soulis, Government Affairs Liaison for the Franklin County Engineer Cornell Robertson. Commissioners, this resolution would authorize the donation of real property located on the northwest corner of Morse and Westerville Road. its excess property from a former eminent domain matter back in the early 2000s. The city of Columbus needs this property for the installation of stormwater best management practices as a part of this project. Pending any questions, we ask for your approval.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 638-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 63822 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Next, we have child support enforcement.
Resolution number 63922. Resolution authorizing Franklin County Child Support Enforcement Agency to enter into a contract modification with Cassandra Young for program consulting services in the amount of $6,890.
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Brown, Director, representing the Child Support Enforcement Agency. This resolution requests your consideration in approving a modification of an independent contractor contract with Cassandra Young, which was previously renewed through Resolution 0221-22, effective April 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $6,890. The contract follows federal guidelines for professional consulting services and is eligible for federal financial reimbursement. The purpose of this modification is to expand the scope of work within the contract to include presenting at state or national conferences or training events. And this modification does not require any additional appropriation of funds. Myself, Michael Hayes, who's the Senior Program Manager, Division of Program Innovation at Administration for Children and Families, Office of Child Support Enforcement, Rob Pearson, the Director of Stark County CSEA, Cassie Young, who was the former project manager for the CSEA Federal Grant, Behavioral Interventions and Child Support Program, or BICS, presented their work at the 2022 National Child Support Enforcement Associations, or NCIA, Leadership Symposium in Charlotte, North Carolina, August 6th through 10th. NCIA leadership invited Franklin County CSEA to present innovations on a budget based on our experience in implementing behavioral interventions in the child support program. Myself and Cassie Young shared our knowledge and experience in implementing a research trial, which proved that applying behavioral intervention techniques in specialized case management improved program participation services. The symposium provided a unique opportunity for Franklin County CSEA to showcase the county's innovative research work in the field of behavioral science. This modification to the contract will reimburse Ms. Young for her travel expenses associated with the symposium. Pending any questions, I request your approval for this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 639-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 63922 has been adopted.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.
You too. Next, we have economic development and planning.
Resolution number 64022. Resolution authorizing the Board of Franklin County Commissioners to sign the attached discharge of mortgage instrument for Kevin R. Boysel and Nora R. Boysel at 1325 Little Avenue, Township of Franklin, Ohio, 43223.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Julissa Tidushal, Administrative Assistant 2 for EDP. And today I'll have 5 resolutions to present. First one, Kevin R. Boysel and Nora R. Boysel. They received on November 12, 2019 from Franklin County a home loan for $10,036 on real estate, commonly known as 1325 Little Avenue. The requirements of the housing loan have been satisfied. The property taxes are paid and current, and I respectfully request the approval of the discharge of mortgage on this property.
All right, if there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 640-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64022 has been adopted. Resolution number 64122. Resolution authorizing the Board of Franklin County Commissioners to sign the attached discharge of mortgage instrument for Stephen Dumel at 5669 Norton Road, Grove City, Ohio 43123.
Stephen Dumel received on March 7, 2006 from Franklin County a home loan for $1,800 on real estate, commonly known as 5669 Norton Road, Grove City. The requirements of the housing loan have been satisfied, and I respectfully request the approval of discharge of mortgage on this property.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 641-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64122 has been adopted. Resolution number 64222. Resolution authorizing the Board of Franklin County Commissioners to sign the attached discharge of mortgage instrument for Nicholas S. Tiano and Sarah M. Cabello at 3716 Minnesota Avenue, Township of Mifflin, Ohio 43219.
Nicholas Estiano and Sarah M. Cabello received on September 20, 2016 from Franklin County a home loan for $5,197.50 on real estate, commonly known as 3716 Minnesota Avenue, Township of Mifflin. The requirements of the housing loan have been satisfied. The property taxes are paid and current, and I respectfully request the approval of the discharge of mortgage on this property.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 642-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64222 has been adopted. Resolution number 64322. Resolution authorizing the Board of Franklin County Commissioners to sign the attached discharge of mortgage instrument for Sean P. Keffer and Renikia K. Keffer at 2878 Lowell Drive, Columbus, Ohio 43204.
Sean P. Keffer and Ronikia K. Keffer received on September 9, 2009 from Franklin County a home loan for $4,757 on real estate, commonly known as 2878 Lowell Drive, Columbus, Ohio. The requirements of the housing loan have been satisfied. The property taxes are paid and current, and I respectfully request the approval of the discharge of mortgage on this property.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 642-22.
643.
Oh, sorry, 643-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64322 has been adopted. Resolution number 64422. Resolution authorizing the Board of Franklin County Commissioners to sign the attached subordination agreement to allow Andre R. Hill to refinance his mortgage at 3470 Lowell Drive, Township of Franklin, Ohio 43204.
Andre R. Hill received on November 12, 2019 from Franklin County a home loan for $18,118 on real estate, commonly known as 3470 Lowell Drive, Township of Franklin, Ohio. The commissioners hold a mortgage lien which secure a loan on the property. Mr. Hill would like to subordinate this loan to refinance his home with Bridget Credit Union. The rate is 5.50%, and the proposed new payment is $614.09 per month. Commissioners, all requirements for a lien subordination have been met, and the property taxes are current. Therefore, I respectfully request the approval of this subordination agreement.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 644-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64422 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you. Next, we have fleet management.
Resolution number 64522. Resolution authorizing the 2023 vehicle commitment with Byers Ford LLC.
Good morning, Commissioners. Charlotte Ashcraft, Director of Fleet Management. This resolution is for a commitment to purchase our 2023 vehicles. We have an existing contract with Byers Ford LLC for all new vehicle purchases. Buyers needs to order our 2023 cruisers before the order window closes this Friday. Also quickly approaching order cutoff are 3 prisoner transport vans and 1 plain SUV for adult probation. Ford Motor Company, as well as most automotive manufacturers, continue to experience issues and delays in the supply chain. Most notably is the microchip shortage, which continues to delay vehicle production. For us to order these 2023 vehicles, we must provide a purchase order or a letter of commitment to buyers Ford so they can place the order on our behalf. On a positive note, with the purchase of these 27 cruisers, once deployed, all vehicles assigned to the Sheriff's Office Patrol Division will be hybrid. We began purchasing a hybrid cruiser when it first became available in 2020. We have 20 in service right now, and we have 13 anxiously awaiting to be put on the road here in 2022. The significance of this is that the Patrol Division, which operates 24/7, is our largest fuel consumer in the fleet, driving more than 100,000 miles per month. We have seen a 150% increase in miles per gallon with the hybrids. I'm excited to see where this will lead us. We won't get them on the road until late 2023, maybe early 2024, depending on when they actually arrive to us. A purchase order will be obtained as soon as possible in January 2023, and the cruisers are not expected to be delivered till summer of 2023. Pending any questions, I respectfully request passage of this resolution.
If there are no comments, you know what? I do have a question. What about electric vehicles? Are we like all electric vehicles? And I know that the cruisers have a lot of requirements, but was that maybe I think I was at U.S. Conference of Mayors, and they had some really nice electric cruisers that I think Chevy has produced. I can't remember where, but are we looking at any electric vehicles? You know, most manufacturers are going all electric in, you know, the next 10 to 20 years. You're already starting to see states that are banning gas powered vehicles and going all electric. What are we doing in terms of our fleet with all electric?
We do have 2 currently in the fleet that are all electric. One is in the pool that's downtown, so it can be used by all the agencies so they can see how it actually does operate the same. We recently purchased one of the F-150 Ford Lightnings, which is an all-electric pickup truck. Its range is significantly larger than the other electric that we have. It is advertised at 300 miles per charge. We have it up to 269, so we're working to hit the 300. We always look for hybrid or all-electric options when we purchase. Currently, there's a lot of hybrids available, so that way we can lean towards that. The range anxiety comes into play a lot of times with drivers because they're just uncomfortable thinking they can't get there and back without stopping for a charge in the middle. Generally, they can, but it's disconcerting for a lot of people. We do look every time we purchase to see what is available in the alternative fuel, electric, and hybrid prior to purchasing anything. And the only time we don't purchase a hybrid is when there's not one available in the application in which they need.
Yeah, I mean, I want to encourage you to really maybe think of a more deliberate and maybe aggressive strategy. I mean, you know, we don't want to be trying to react as everyone else is trying to react to the electric vehicle movement. You know, when you look at all of the legislative policies coming out of the White House today and the national strategy coming out of the Department of Transportation, and even, like I said, states like California, you know, and given the struggle we're having with gas prices and the rising cost of fuel, you know, I want to encourage you. I'm not telling you what to do your job. You do it better than anybody I've seen, but I want to encourage you to think proactively about more electric vehicles and beginning a process to begin to integrate electric vehicles into our fleet and to begin to think about it from the sense of cost. You know, because I think maybe we start with a cost analysis of, you know, are we seeing with hybrids a reduction in fuel purchase? Are we seeing other maintenance costs go down. I mean, I just would love to know, where we stand in terms of potentially beginning to think about being a little more aggressive with our fleet in terms of electric vehicles. So,
Most definitely.
yeah, and like I said, I was at a U.S. Conference of Mayors, or NACO, one of them, and I was in the exhibit hall, and they had the nicest electric vehicles. They were police vehicles, actually. I think I took photos of them. I meant to send them to you, but that might be a little much. We've got a very broad area to cover here in Central Ohio for that, but boy, might be something to get ahead of. So.
I would just second what Commissioner Boyce said. I know Administrator Wilson and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago at the, Conference of Mayors dinner about, there will be like electric vehicle charging stations every so many miles, and so it just makes it a little bit easier if we, one, could have a goal to reach, and B, have all of our vehicles electric, if it makes sense, by a certain timeline. But as vehicles are just traveling, or the fleet, if the sheriff's office is out, it just makes it easier as the infrastructure is being installed to be able to, travel and charge. If that I know that is a concern for a lot of people, and so I would just second and follow up on what Commissioner Boyce said. I think it's a great idea, and thank you for all you do. You do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further comments or questions, move for adoption of 645-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64522 has been adopted.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. Next, we have Job and Family Services.
Resolution number 64622. Resolution authorizing the Franklin County Department of Job and Family Services Director to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Workforce Development Board of Central Ohio for a Prevention, Retention, and Contingency Plan Employment Incentive Program in the amount of $750,656.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bart Logan from Job and Family Services. The most recent state biennial budget set aside funds for counties to establish an employment incentive program as part of our existing Prevention, Retention, and Contingency Plans, or the PRC plan. So this program was designed by the state of Ohio, and it provides financial incentive payments to help recently employed individuals enrolled in either Ohio Works First Cash Assistance or Work Required Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, or food assistance recipients are eligible for this program. We have partnered with the Workforce Board to implement it for eligible residents over the last year. In order to be eligible, a person must be employed for no less than 25 hours a week and earning a wage above the state of Ohio's minimum wage. The Employment Incentive Program participants can receive case management support, career counseling, as well as up to $1,000 in incentive payments if they remain employed for up to 60 days. The resolution would authorize the director to enter into an MOU with the Workforce Board to continue managing this program and issuing those incentive awards to eligible residents referred to them by our agency. And it would further authorize the director to enter into any future amendments for this MOU with the Workforce Board. Pending any questions, we respectfully ask for your approval.
I do have a question. I apologize, I wasn't at briefing on last Thursday to ask, but will our neighbors that are in the Women at Work program, would they qualify for this, or it depends on where they are in their job search?
It would, assuming that they are, if we are working and getting them enrolled as well in SNAP and Ohio Works First, and they're able to, once they get in the program and hit those milestones, it's 30 days of employment for an initial $500 incentive, and then 60 days of employment to hit that second $500 incentive. But as long as they are enrolled in those programs, I don't see any reason why they would not be eligible, and we can work to make sure that there's a referral system in place for them.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bart.
Absolutely.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 646-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64622 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Have a good one. Next, we have Justice Policy and Programs.
Resolution number 64722. Resolution authorizing a sub-grant award agreement with the Columbus Coalition for the Homeless on behalf of the Central Ohio Restored Citizen Collaborative in support of their annual Restored Citizen Summit under the FY 2019 Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $5,000.
Commissioners and County Administration, Rochelle Pry, Director for the Office of Justice Policy and Programs. The Central Ohio Restored Citizens Collaborative is a coalition dedicated to supporting individuals and families touched by the justice system. Their annual signature event, the Restored Citizen Summit, is hosted in collaboration with Columbus State Community College, among many other partners, and is designed to empower residents returning from incarceration to gain the tools needed to become successful and productive regardless of their past convictions. Funding from the fiscal year 2019 Justice Assistance Grant Program will help to offset the cost of keynote speaker fees and supply and AV rentals. This year's event brought in over 450 individuals, making it the largest annual Restored Citizen Summit since inception. It should be noted that the Columbus Coalition for the Homeless serves as the fiduciary agent on behalf of the Central Ohio Restored Citizens Collaborative. I also want to highlight that many from our office were able to attend this year's summit, and we're really, really excited to see the level of engagement with our residents who have lived experiences. We were able to see intentional engagement in basically understanding that some of those residents who were able to come and join us from our community-based facilities were engaged in a way where they are didn't have anything to do with who they are. And so we were really, really excited to see this turnout. Also, the Office of Justice Policy and Programs was able to do a workshop this year at the summit, which focused on restorative practices in reentry, and we co-facilitated this workshop with the West Ohio Conference of the United Methodist Church. So we were really, really excited to be able to also engage our faith-based community in this year's summit and continue to do so, as we know that our faith-based community is a huge pillar for many of our justice-involved residents and our community in general. So because of the success of that workshop, we were actually invited to do the very same summit and workshop at the National Association for Blacks in Criminal Justice Ohio Conference coming up in October. So we're just really, really excited to see the success of this and the growth that we've sustained throughout. And so if there are no pending questions, we would like to seek approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 647-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64722 has been adopted.
Thank you,
You
you
too.
too. Next, we have Sanitary Engineers.
Resolution number 64822. Resolution authorizing an agreement between the Board of Commissioners and property owners for financial assistance with sanitary sewer connections in the Moneyback and Brown Road East Service Areas, Round 2.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Brian Stowe with the Sanitary Engineer. Sanitary Engineer is requesting the approval of agreements between the county and approved homeowners for Round 2 of the Financial Assistance Program, which provides assistance with sanitary sewer connections in our Moneyback and Brown Road East service areas. This resolution is nearly identical to Resolution 81520, where agreements for 70 homeowners were approved in Round 1 of the assistance program. For Round 2, 78 applications were received and 36 homeowners were approved. For various reasons and circumstances, 9 of those approved owners withdrew from the program, leaving 27 to be connected. Through RFP 2021-09-05, Proho Enterprises LLC was selected as the lowest and best contractor to perform the connection work. Funding in the amount of $772,796.72 was secured in June of this year from the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund that is jointly administered by the Ohio EPA and the Ohio Water Development Authority. In addition, the sanitary engineer is also requesting that the county administrator can sign and execute each of the 27 agreements on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. Pending any questions or comments, I request the passage of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 648-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64822 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day. Next, we have Public Facilities Management.
Resolution number 64922. Resolution authorizing the First Amendment to the contract with PSP Operations Incorporated, doing business as ServPro of Northeast Columbus and Ohio Technical Services Incorporated, to provide specialized cleaning services at designated Franklin County facilities in the amount of $300,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Darla Reardon, Director of Public Facilities Management. Public Facilities Management is responsible for the facility needs of the various agencies and offices of Franklin County. This resolution authorizes the First Amendment to the contract with two local firms, PSP Operations, Inc., doing business as ServPro of Northeast Columbus, and Ohio Technical Services, Inc., to provide specialized COVID-19 and non-COVID-19 specialized cleaning services. Both firms have performed satisfactorily during the initial one-year contract period. The term of this extension to the original contract is for a one-year period, and it is a not-to-exceed contract. Pending any questions, PFM respectfully requests your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 649-22.
Second.
I'm sorry. I do have a question. I'm sorry. I'm looking at and maybe can you talk about, so it says the total contract amount is $300,000, and then the total PO amount for 2022 is $80,000. So the $80,000 is incorporated in the total contract amount of $300,000? So that's, yeah.
Correct, Commissioner. At this point of the year, we open a PO for what we anticipate to be the balance of expenditures for the year, and then we would reopen a PO for the balance of the contract period, the remaining amount within the $300,000 total at the beginning of 2023.
Got it. Thank you. I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 64922 has been adopted. Resolution number 65022. Resolution authorizing the First Amendment to the contract with Goodwill Industries of Central Ohio Incorporated for providing housekeeping services at designated Franklin County facilities in the amount of $775,000.
The second resolution authorizes the First Amendment to the contract with Goodwill Industries of Central Ohio Incorporated to provide housekeeping services at 10 Franklin County facilities. These services are being procured in accordance with Ohio's Community Rehabilitation, the CRP, per Ohio Revised Code. The term of this extension to the original contract is for a one-year period, and it is a not-to-exceed contract. Pending any questions, PFM requests your approval of this resolution. Thank you.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 650-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 65022 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Have a great day, Darla.
You
Next-
too.
Thank you. Next, we have purchasing.
Resolution number 65122. Resolution approving purchases for various Franklin County agencies in the amount of $1,571,960.45.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Perry Valinier, Director of Purchasing, and joining me is D'Amica Withers, Chief Economic Equity and Inclusion Officer in the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Commissioners, this resolution requests your approval of 91 purchase orders for which the County Auditor has pre-certified available funding. D'Amica will supply the supplier diversity data for this week. Good morning, D'Amica.
Good morning, Megan. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Included in the resolution are 7 POs that are being presented for award to 5 minority business enterprises and 5 women business enterprises, totaling $182,353. This week, the following agencies have contributed to the county's commitment to supplier diversity: General Services, Fleet, Domestic Relations and Juvenile Court, Emergency Management, and Sheriff.
Thank you, D'Amica. Pending any questions, Commissioners, we request your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 651-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 65122 has been adopted.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. Next up, we have Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 65222. Resolution appointing Trudy Bartley to the Franklin County Parks and Recreation Board of Trustees.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Raisik, Clerk to the Board, Director of Community Appointments. Pending any questions, respectfully ask for your approval on this resolution.
Thank you, Clerk. I do have some thoughts that I'd like to share. I mean, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I wanted to approach this discussion today with regards to what I think are very important board appointments for Franklin County. And I came to the conclusion that, you know, at the end of the day, the most valuable part of being a commissioner is that we have the ability to work together to make decisions in what we believe to be the best interests of Franklin County residents. And so from that standpoint, while I feel strong about a few things as it relates to the board, I don't want to spend a lot of time like I initially wanted to do, like I was initially planned to do, to point out a few points that I think matter. That being said, Clerk, I'd like to request that, and then maybe this is to the administrator as well, that, you know, we set aside time in either executive session or a retreat to really talk about how we go about qualifying individuals to serve on various boards for Franklin County. You know, in all my time in politics, one of the most frightening experiences I've had, not the, but one of the top, was learning of the ethics violations at the Columbus Zoo this year. And moreover, at the time, I was president of the board and wasn't even aware that I was a member of the zoo as by virtue of being the president of the board. And I think that illustrates the breakdown in our own internal process that is important to make sure that A, we're doing our part as a governmental body, but B, that we are appointing people to these boards that are not only qualified but capable. You know, the other part about this is these board members are fiduciarily responsible for the actions of that entity, meaning that when the things happen at the zoo, those folks were liable in many ways, and you can get in well, who represents who, and if they've got insurance and all that stuff. The point is that our responsibility as a board is to make sure that we are appointing qualified individuals to serve so that the public's interests and resources are protected to the best of our capability. And I think there are a number of things that I'd like to go into in that consideration. So that being said, in my comments to say that Administrator, we need to really dig into this. And at this point, I'd like to put a hold on all board appointments until we're able to really come to some agreement, not in the actual appointments, but in the process. I know it's been something that we've been working on at least since I've been here. And it's probably gotten a little bit better. And I definitely I think the clerk, you do a great job of managing that. But we can do better. We have to do better. And it's just really part of our responsibility. Sometimes we're going to disagree on, things and people and that kind of thing, or even some of it can be subjective in terms of if we think someone is qualified or not qualified, all that stuff, and that's sort of subjective. But if we establish clear criteria, if there's a vetting process that you maybe conduct before it even gets to us to meet minimum standards, I think that can alleviate a lot of this time that we spend trying to make these appointments. Some of these appointments have been expired for quite some time, and it's really just a matter of that vetting process and really trying to get to it that kind of can slow us down. And we just don't want to be in a position where we can't make sound appointments because there isn't, the resources to cover that. So that being said, I want to move on, and I can discuss some other elements of what I think are important and some of the maybe perhaps breakdown in this process in that session, and we can debate that and discuss that. But this is something I take very seriously. I know we all do. We're all very passionate about these boards and the county. And so that's why, I thought long and hard about how I was going to approach today and just decided, it's more important to me that we continue to function as a cohesive body. I think that's what the public expects and demands from us. And so with that being said, I'm going to set aside my own personal perspective on some things and just state that I want us to have a discussion. And I think you should be very much a part of it, whether it's executive session or retreat. This is something that we've got to get at, Administrator, ASAP, or I'm going to be highly disappointed and maybe not participate in the board appointments going forward, if we can't come to some agreement about criteria, service, all the things that are important. So.
Move approval of resolution.
Well, I think you want to respond.
Oh.
I think Administrator Wilson.
Move approval of resolution 65222.
Administrator, did you have something you want to say?
Go ahead and go with the motion.
Well, I think I'm supposed to make the motion on these, right?
Are you going to
No?
make a motion?
I am, but the administrator wanted to make some comments. Should we not?
Go ahead. Kenneth Wilson, County Administrator. I just wanted to briefly add that I've been in communications with staff, and this has been an ongoing process, and we intend to review this process. I've discussed this with the board to look at it at a more defined level as far as criteria and process. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, and I know you have been wonderful, Brittany, and then Lauren, as you come on, working with my office and prior to you, Dean, from the first time that board appointments even came to me, and I haven't been here for a number of them, but several. I think the first thing when you came, I was like, or right before Dean left, and then you came, I was like, I want the bylaws. Like, how do we not even have bylaws, right, for the board? And I know that this has gone through some changes, and then you have worked very diligently to be able to get those. So I think even before we have a conversation about, the process, which we can have, I also think that it's good to have, we need to absolutely know how the boards are structured and the governance. And if we're talking about process, and we can also talk about changes that need to be made, especially as to our responsibility, who we appoint, and just how they do things. So we don't have another situation like the zoo, or prior to that, SWACO and all of these other ones. And so, I think there's some foundational things that need to occur first before we can have, a real robust conversation that you should be able to provide to us, and it'll make it easier for us to have, a full-fledged conversation about how we move forward and looking at each individual board, and then how we go about making recommendations and suggestions, and then communicating that on to the boards. And so I just want to say thank you for indulging me during this time, as I've been trying to get up to speed on boards and appointments, and then also being able to get those resources that we need. So just want to say thank you and give you kudos, because I know you work really hard on that.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Commissioner and County Administrator. I do appreciate all the feedback, and I welcome further conversation offline so we can make sure we have a great process that you all are on board with moving forward.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, if there are no further comments or questions, I will make the motion to approve Resolution 652-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting, Commissioner Boyce,
No.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 65222 has been adopted. Resolution number 65322, Resolution appointing Luke Fedlam to the Franklin County Parks and Recreation Board of Trustees.
Pending any questions, respectfully ask your approval, Commissioners.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 653-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 65322 has been adopted. Resolution number 65422, resolution appointing Jiza Page to the Franklin County Parks and Recreation Board of Trustees.
Finally, thank you, Commissioners. Pending any questions, respectfully ask your approval.
If there are no comments or questions, move for adoption of 654-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 65422 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 65522, resolution urging a multifaceted community, legislative, and policy response at the local, state, and federal level, and committing Franklin County resources and action to address the scourge of gun violence in our community and across the nation.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Lauren Rummel, Director of Government Affairs and Ethics. As the clerk stated, this resolution outlines your advocacy priorities and proposals for collective action to address the issue of gun violence in our community. As you know, there were over 45,000 total gun deaths in the United States in the year 2020, which is the highest number on record. Over the last 5 years, there were 1,000 deaths by firearm in Franklin County. The gun-related mortality rate among Franklin County residents aged 20 to 24 is among the highest of any age group, followed by residents who are 18 and 19 years old. Gun violence affects people of all ages and races, but it disproportionately affects young people, men, people of color, veterans, and pregnant and postpartum people. This resolution does several things. It outlines, as I said, your advocacy agenda at the state and federal level. It speaks to actions and investments that you all have already made. And finally, it calls for additional action in a number of areas. So I'll walk through some of the specifics in the resolution. Specifically, it states that this board applauds the recent passage of the bipartisan Safer Communities Act and supports President Biden's Safer American Plan. And it states that this board calls for further action by Congress while urging the Ohio General Assembly to do something around gun violence in our state. The resolution goes on to renew this board's commitment to do several things. Again, I will outline them briefly. To prioritize a systematic, data-driven approach to reduce poverty and address racial inequities through the Rise Together Poverty Blueprint. Invest in our communities. Comprehensive continuum of mental health and addiction-related services, including in crisis services, partnerships with veterans serving organizations, and the Credible Mind platform. To support crisis intervention training among direct service and first responder personnel. To fund year-round youth programs to give our youngest residents alternatives to the social isolation and mental stress that can pose risks to their safety. To partner with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office and other justice system partners to ensure supports are available to individuals within and leaving our Franklin County Corrections facilities, and continue supporting workforce development and training initiatives. These are all areas in which the resolution outlines continued commitment. So then finally, the resolution then tasks county administration and senior staff with forming a work group to look at additional strategies within the authority of the county or our partners. Specifically, it tasks this work group with soliciting community input, identifying opportunities to support and align with community-led violence prevention and intervention efforts, engaging with other local governments in Franklin County to align and strengthen our efforts, to consult with subject matter experts from across the country to examine best practices that could be tailored to our community, and recommend additional opportunities for action, investment, research, evaluation, and finally, to identify opportunities for investment through the Franklin County Office of Justice Policy and Programs to support nonprofits that are doing this work, that are in the community and leading crime prevention efforts. Finally, I just would like to thank you, Commissioners, County Administration, and Director Pride for guidance in bringing this resolution forward and really putting the substance to what you're doing and what you aim to do. And I ask for your consideration this morning.
Thanks for all your great work on this, Lauren.
Thank you.
So Lauren, is this going to be, we're going to send this to, who are we sending it to?
I'd be happy to send it to our federal and state partners in addition to any key community partners and individuals that you'd like me to, Commissioners. Happy to do that.
Yeah, I think it's important that when we pass resolutions that we're not, they don't just pass them and then they, we just look at them, so I think maybe a letter to the president, and a letter to the legislature, maybe our delegation and the speaker and then maybe the governor, and whoever the proper folks that you see. But I definitely think that is valuable. And then perhaps some of the community groups that you mentioned in NAACP, Urban League, just so some of those folks who've been advocates I think it's really important that we engage them and communicate with them. So I'll let you drive where, but we definitely should promote pushing it out. And maybe include maybe CCAO and NACO as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just would like to say thank you for all your work on this. I want to thank Commissioner O'Grady and his work to continue to elevate this conversation, whether it's with CCAO and LUC and at NACO. Want to thank my colleague, Commissioner Boyce, for his thoughts and input from where we were before to where we are now. And also thank you for really integrating veterans as well as pregnant people in this. But one thing that I want to highlight is, law enforcement violence as well, right? Is as what we see in our community, and we can speak to that. And I have from a public health crisis perspective, but I don't want to lose sight that is also gun violence, especially when we see people losing their lives at the hands of law enforcement violence and the trauma that it has on communities generationally. And, as we work with the sheriff's office and, or with the state and training and de-escalation tactics and techniques and just looking at what it looks like to engage with people in the community, we have to be aware of that, and then the mental health that it has on the community. But when I think about our youth, right, and DCA Bivens set up a conversation that we had a little over a month ago, maybe 2 months ago now, and with some young men who talk about their friends or how they have had guns themselves and why that happens. We have to be able to have those conversations and from a place of understanding and not of condemnation or conviction, but trying to understand why it is that our youth are engaging in criminality and violence and using guns as a weapon, to just navigate this life. And a lot of them don't even have the thought process that, they'll live to see 21 or 25. And that's something in itself that we have to be able to address to the extent that we can. And one thing that I know about our youth, as I'm focused on this in undergrad in criminology with a focus on juvenile delinquency, the things that came up in the conversation with the youth and that I have been able to learn over the years is that it's those social bonds, right, that are developed that would help a youth decide when they have the opportunity to engage in criminality and why they don't. Usually it's not because they think about, the punishment or serving time in prison or losing their life. It's, I don't want to disappoint Miss Freeman, who is my teacher, who has, looks forward to me coming to after school or coming to class every day, even when they don't have that environment at home that supports them thriving. It's those social bonds that, of disappointment or not being able to, see their grandmother or the person that has poured into them to let them know that they matter and that they're valued and that they're loved. And everybody can't carry that message. And so one of the things that, I know that DCA Bivens and as well as Director Pride has been doing is looking for those people in the community who can carry those messages that say, you might not have had the, the life that you wanted. I play spades, and so I know what it's like to be dealt a bad hand, right? But also trying to make the best of that hand that you're dealt, and other people like pouring into you to say that, your current situation does not dictate your future success. And one of the things that have flown under the radar, and I just want to thank my colleagues for is like our Urban Roots program, and they supported that. That's a $120,000 investment. Not a lot, but it supports 40 eighth graders. And so when we look at the target age of those who are engaging in criminality, it's around 8th grade, right? And so that's a partnership with OSU for ag for a year round, because they understand that they need to be in the community. Ohio State needs to be in the community, so that's what they're doing, is building those community bonds, but also ongoing engagement with the youth. If they have somewhere to go and mentorship, and those are the social bonds that will keep them from engaging. And when Administrator Wilson and I were at the Urban Institute, and he asked the question, as we were talking about how communities are using ARPA dollars, he asked the question, I hate to speak for you, but I want to talk about this, what are communities doing with ARPA dollars to, really get at gun violence, especially for our youth? And the panelists couldn't answer the question, but one of the young ladies who do policy work for the USDA talked about, I know we don't typically look at agriculture as a deterrent for violence, but I would challenge you to look at it that way. And we both were like, urban roots, like that's one of the things, like we have to look outside of the box, because what we've been doing that's mainstream isn't working. And so what else can we do? So I want to thank my colleagues for supporting that effort. I know it didn't come across your desks as a gun violence deterrent initiative, but it absolutely is that. And those are some of the things that we can do to help our youth build those social bonds, and then be able to pour into them when they don't have those places where they can see themselves as thriving. So I just want to, just wanted to highlight that. And again, thank you for your work, and thank you to my colleagues for supporting that type of initiative.
I originally brought this up as an issue based on the fact that as the chair of the large Urban County Caucus in NACO, I had colleagues across the country that were dealing with, shootings in their communities in Erie County and Buffalo after the shooting at the Tops grocery store, and then in Uvalde, and my colleagues in Texas who were dealing with this shooting in Uvalde. And, I was sitting at home thinking about my colleagues and how they were dealing with the shootings that were going on in these other communities. And, the fact that as the chair of the caucus, I said, we need to discuss this. We need to be having this conversation on a national level, because we're commissioners and this is what we need to do. We need to be able to have a large conversation about this, because we can't let these things continue to happen. And then when we started talking about it, when I started talking to county administration about it, DCA Bivens was like, we need to do this. And then that's when she brought the group of kids from our community here in Franklin County and their leaders and their adults that were dealing with them to us. And we started hearing stories about, kids who they don't carry guns because they want to carry guns. They carry guns because everybody else is carrying guns. And if they don't have a gun, they don't feel safe leaving the house. And we've turned into a society where, decisions that are being made, for all kinds of reasons. And none of them are good. And, and how we address them, there's a whole host of reasons, a whole host of ways, and a lot of answers. And we as county commissioners, whether it's through Urban Roots or it's through, there's a million ways. And DCA Bivens has got answers, and Director, I've lost my train of thought now.
Pride.
Director Pride's got answers, and the folks that we're working with all have answers. There's a lot of answers, and we have to be, as leaders, we have to be willing and able to go looking for them in all the places that they exist, because this is a big issue, and it's going to keep happening, and the day is going to come. I've watched as our friends here, are dealing with, shooting after shooting. I went to Cleveland over the weekend for a family reunion, and my cousin works in Cuyahoga County government, and he goes, well, I guess, Cleveland's not the only place where the cops are shooting black men. He goes, you guys are catching us. And I said, it's a sad state of affairs, when we can't really make jokes about this at family reunions. It's not funny. And, it's become the norm anymore that we turn on the TV and there's another shooting in another city, in another county, and we have friends that are dealing with it, and so that's why we have to keep having these conversations. We have to keep having them here, and we have to keep having them, when we meet with our colleagues across the state, and we have to keep having them when we meet with our colleagues across the country, because it's not stopping.
Thank you, President Crowley, Commissioner Grady, Commissioner Boyce, Kenneth Wilson, County Administrator. I know it's been an extended morning, but I wanted to echo the compliments to the entire staff. Lauren, you took this and now it is a improved product from when we really first thought that was really a good product. So we took it to another level. That's that old saying about pressure creates diamonds. I guess this is one of those kind of examples that, using that analogy, that this resolution before us is better than what we first started with, because it's not just a statement of a problem, a statement of something that hurts us deep down in our soul when we see the news, when we either look at where we live today and we look at where we were born and raised, and we see the young people lacking opportunity and hope. And that's a big part of what gun violence is associated with. In urban communities particularly, it is individuals that feel as though they don't have hope. We can look across the way at the Juvenile Intervention Center. The capacity issues in the kids that are constantly going in and out of that facility, parents that don't know what to do and have lost hope in trying to work with their youth. We got to create additional opportunities through action. And I think a lot of that is in this resolution. And Commissioner O'Grady touched on this. It's a lot of ways to do it. And because of that, we need to solicit community input on actions that can be taken within Franklin County's authority to deal with this problem. We all are students of public policy. We all read. We all try to follow national best practices. But there's no substitute in communicating and talking with the community to find out what we may be missing as far as what their obstacles are. We have a lot of tools here under the board's leadership, such as the poverty blueprint, our hyper focus on equity, and all of those things matter. But we need to communicate with the community, and that's a part of this resolution. Also, this resolution asks us to seek new partnerships with the public, private, and nonprofit and community groups to reduce gun violence, because it's everybody owns this in Franklin County. All 1.3, 1.4, how many people are here on the latest census count? We all own this. We all have an obligation. We all have a responsibility. We all need to lead from where we are at in our place. So I'm saying that we've done a good job under the commissioner's direction to bring us to this point. I would like the 2023 budget. I want every one of our agency directors that report to county administration to think about what their agency can do, how their agency can contribute to this particular issue. And let's present to the commissioners during our budget hearings. I know I've been asking a lot. You all expect to have to turn cartwheels, have videos, and then I got to ask for enough time to hold the hearings for you to do cartwheels and do videos and all the stuff to talk about how we want to make 2023 different from a budgetary standpoint and from a public policy standpoint, and more important, from our actions than we've done before. We got to challenge ourselves. So thank you, President Crowley, for allowing me to speak briefly.
Absolutely.
I'll just add a couple comments since we're on this. I mean, I don't want to go into my own history. I think most of you know it, my own history when it comes to gun violence and my own situation. But I think the one area that, the one thing I want to be careful with Franklin County is that, we don't manage neighborhoods. We're not in the granular sense that the city of Columbus or municipalities are. We don't have that sort of same role. We're kind of, in that sense, at the 30,000-foot level, But the area that I think we do have a direct capacity on is the jail system. That when people are incarcerated for whatever crisis or scenario that landed them there, that's where we have them as a captive audience to begin to address some of the challenges that lead to some of these violent activities in the use of guns and so forth. And so I think, given where we are in the new jail and where we are with the mental health relationship, components that we've added in, I think that's where our real opportunity is, And so I had the fortune of being on a panel this weekend with a bunch of other elected officials regarding the recent shooting by Columbus Police Department, the young man. And, there's so many levels to this conversation. But ours, I really believe ours is in that institution that we just spent quite a bit of money to build and make a real difference. And that's where I think our greatest possibility lies. We don't have jurisdictions, we can't do anything in the neighborhoods, but it's just not we're not set up that way. It's, and that's where a lot of this, these challenges exist. And so, I'm eager to get into the conversation and look forward to it. I think Director Pride, I think you really can be our lead person in this broader conversation for the county to do this. So really looking at your leadership here, but I hope it's the jail that we really are zeroed in on, because otherwise it's just another warehousing of people, and we're just cycling them in and out, and that's to me what the greater challenge is. So with that, congratulations on just being so diligent about the work. And this wasn't easy. The resolution is one thing, but you started off one way, and then we kind of, had some input, and then I love the way you dissected that and came back with even better, because I think you originally had an idea, and then we kind of pushed back on some different aspects. But this is way better, 1,000 times better than that initial resolution, and I think, but far more substantive from the standpoint of things that we can actually do to be engaged. So congratulations, good job.
Can I get a motion? Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Did I make a motion? I thought I made it. No, I didn't make it. All right. What is it? It's
655.
655. If there are no further comments or questions, move for adoption of 655-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Resolution number 655-22 has been adopted.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any journalizations, Madam Clerk?
There is one. Case number ANX-32-22, an expedited Type 2 annexation petition, ANX-32-22, was filed with the Franklin County Economic Development and Planning Department on September 1st, 2022. The petition is requesting to annex 166.2 acres from Prairie Township to the city of Columbus. The petition will be considered by the Board of Commissioners on October 4th, 2022, and the sites are as follows. 795 Galloway Road, PID number 240-000006. The next is 6410 Old Hall Road, PID number 240-000150. The next is Alton Road, PID number 240-000151. And finally, 6420 Old Hall Road, PID number 240-000242.
Thank you. Are there any members of the media in the audience or online who has any questions? All right, hearing and seeing none with no additional business to come before the board, we are adjourned. Have a great Tuesday, everyone.